So you may have noticed that last week we well and truly blew out the budget for time.
We are quite talkative.
This week you might also notice that we look somewhat similar to last week, as in we're wearing the same thing, sitting in the same spot with the same lighting and very possibly the same haircuts. That's because we pretty much just kept on rolling last week. It was so far over time that we just chopped it in half.
Here for you now.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Yes! Box me around the ears for being a smart ass.
Okay.
Please explain reefing.
Reefing is when you want to shorten your mainsail down so that there is less canvas for the wind to hit.
Well, all sails.
Or with your genoa, the headsail, you can roll it up as well, or sometimes if it's just a hank-on, you can reef that one too. Pretty much regardless, you are reducing the amount of canvas. You're reducing the amount of canvas that the wind has to hit, and so therefore you're not going slower, you are just preparing yourself for higher winds so that you don't get as knocked down.
Perfect.
Nailed it in one. Next question.
Shall I elaborate, or you think that's enough?
I think you can elaborate because you just really want to.
I do. No, I always have a theory that if you understand principles, then you understand. Then like when someone says, "Let's explain reefing," yes, Khiara's correct. Reduce sail, get the pressure off the rig, and don't lean over as much. That's it. That's enough. That's all you need to know. But that's the answer. That's not the theory. So I'm going to try to be really fast.
Okay.
Can I explain? Give me a time. Like, what do you got?
What's the point of time?
I don't know. What is the point of time? Why are we really here? All right. Cut. Okay. Sail is a wing. It generates lift. The formula for lift is this. Lift equals half rho V squared S times the coefficient of lift. This here represents the wind, right? This is the density of the air, that's half, and this is the speed of the wind. This is the surface area, and this is the coefficient of lift. This term is all to do with the shape of your sail, and that's largely where the art of sailing comes in. What we're trying to control when we reef is this, the surface. So by reducing the surface area, when the velocity increases, if we reduce the surface area, we can keep the force of lift on the sails the same, which keeps the load on the rig and the moment that's pitching us over the same.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah, you got that? Yeah. Fantastic. So when you reef...
And lift means propulsion forward.
Thrust, yeah. In this case, yes, definitely. So when you reef, this is a full canvas, right? So you have your mainsail, you have your jib. I won't do a staysail. If we're to reef, we have a center of effort and a center of effort. And then when we reduce canvas, we're going to let the halyard go, and we're going to turn, lower it down, and then attach it here, and attach it here, and then hoist it back up, so that our new sail area is significantly reduced. And then we're going to roll in the jib by a couple of feet. So you've reduced the surface area, you've kept the lift the same, so therefore you're not pitching over, and you're, and everything is happy. You've taken a reef. That's why you take a reef. And why it's important is because lift has to be absorbed, that energy has to be absorbed by the rig, and also washed off in the form of tipping over the boat. You want to keep the boat flat because that's how it was designed to sail. Most boats are designed to sail on a certain amount of tilt. If you don't manage that, you're going to lose performance, and you're going to introduce weather or lee helm. But you want to keep your heel angle on the money, where it should be. You still with me?
I am.
Good.
Yep. You were drifting a bit there, but you kind of came back.
One last point. Now, why it's important to reef, why everyone says, if you think you should reef, you must reef, you must reef, you must reef, is because of the V term. So if you're a math guy, you can see that this square means that this is the significant term in the formula. Let's say that all of these numbers are 1, okay? And this is 5 knots of wind, and let's just say that the lift at the moment is 5, right? Lift equals 5 squared, which is 25, right? So now let's bump it up to 10. So the wind has doubled. Let's look at the effect that that has on the lift, the force that the sail is going to feel. 10 squared, that's 100. So you've just doubled the wind speed, but this has gone up by a factor of 4. So the difference between 5 and 10 knots is way less significant than the difference between 20 and 25 knots, or 25 and 30, or 30 and 35, which is why you really need a reef early.
Very good.
There you go. How long was that? All right, 2
good.
minutes, 25 minutes.
I can tell you exactly 5 minutes 19.
Damn it! Well, not bad. Okay. Philippe again. How are you taking reefs from the mast, or are the lines sent back to the cockpit? Should we go outside?
Yeah.
Alright, so you asked about reefing. Apologise in advance if there's wind noise. It's a bit of a howly, rainy day here in Grenada, but we'll do our best. So the Falcon has what's called a slab reefing system, which is it's a dual line system, I suppose you could say, as opposed to a single line system. So what we do is we ease the halyard, we'll drop the sail down, hold for the wind. There's 3 points, 3 reefs on this main, and they all have a crinkle through it with a strap like this and a ring. There's also a hook at the gooseneck here. So you lower the sail, you put the ring over the hook, then you hoist the halyard again, which then pulls the hook taut. So that's the sail, you know, is now fixed at that new reefing point. Then there's lines that run through the, so if you can imagine, it's tied around the boom, and then it goes up through the sail, down to the back of the boom, through the middle of the boom, and then it comes out here. So that's third reef, second reef, first reef. The third reef I haven't put through into the cockpit yet because we ran out of turning blocks. But the first and second reef run down to a turning block, through to a deck organizer and into the cockpit, where they're on clutch blocks and they have a winch. And if you were to pull on that line, you're essentially pulling that ring down to the boom, so that this part of the sail is attached to the boom at this end, at the gooseneck, and the rear part of the sail is attached to the boom at the reefing point at the rear end of the sail. So what we usually do, I'll come forward, Khiara will be just here manning the main halyard. We'll communicate and I'll say down, 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 whoa, and then I'll pop the hook on and I'll say up, hoist, hoist, and Khiara will hoist it. Then we both come back to the cockpit and I'll tail the winch while Khiara winches down the reefing line, which pulls both ends nice and taut. And you should end up with a nice flat cut main pinned down at both corners with the like sort of slung over the fold, so that all the flaked sail beneath it is sort of pinned in place. There was a question about the center cockpit being a bit of a nuisance with regards to that. Not so much for reefing. It doesn't really interfere with the reefing. What it does interfere with though is when you're putting the main away entirely and trying to like get the lazy jack bag zipped up, is that, as you can see, the roof, the coach roof here begins exactly on the middle of the boom. And so you stand up here and you can obviously reach the beginning and you can reach the very tippy tip of the boom, but anywhere in the middle is kind of no man's land, because you can't stand on the roof, you can't stand on the dodger, you sort of have to do this awkward sort of, it's just very difficult to access the sail. Very difficult to access anywhere inside this bag or the top of the bag to zip it up. That's the majority of the difficulty we have. Other than that, it's fine. So it's really only a problem when we're trying to put the sail away and do up the bag. We have put in place a little winch system. However, it does get hung up on like creases in the bag, and it depends on how the sail flakes, and the sail quite often falls on top of this line, so it's less than perfect, but hey, it's not really, if that's the worst of our problems, then you know, it's pretty good. So hope that answers your question. That's my main gripe with the center cockpit. It's very difficult to get to the mid boom. All right, we're back.
Okay, Dread Doctor. Oh, interesting name. Says, I think I understand the cowcatcher, but could you just show us non-sailors what you mean?
There's another question with this that wanted a picture, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
and someone else also asked for a picture of a cowcatcher.
Yeah.
So, here it is.
Alex Nisbet, sorry mate. So, photo is there. Hope you enjoyed that. Now to explain it again. All right, let's go back to the pen and paper job, shall I?
Yeah.
Just real quick. Just,
Yep.
I mean, I explained it before, but I could probably...
Hold on, I'll turn it on again.
We're going up. So, we have we have the mast. We have the backstay, and I apologise, my drawings are never going to be super artistic. Alright, you have the forestay, and then you have the baby stay. Okay, now the cowcatcher lives directly where the mast, or the baby stay meets the mast, okay? And then you have these diamond stays that live slung over the cowcatcher ring, and they go from the top to the first spreaders, I believe. Okay.
Show
Right?
what you've just drawn.
Everyone got that? Okay, so this is the cowcatcher here. These are the diamond stays that are slung over it. Okay, and this is the baby stay. Now, the staysail obviously gets slung between the baby stay and the mast on the sheets. So sit something like this. And you're going to have a center of effort. So the pressure is going to put the baby stay in tension. Right? So that tension is going to then come to the deck, and it's going to come to here. And yes, the tension is going to act, it's going to pull down the mast, which is going to be opposed by the foot. Not really something we need to consider. And it's going to be pulling this way as well, which we do need to consider, because it's going to bow the mast. It's going to cause the mast to want to bow out like that, because it's not supported by anything back here. Now, if you were to have a running backstay, they would be attached here and they would run like that. So your running backstay is purely designed to support a baby stay, to offset the loads of a staysail. We don't have that. What happens to us is, as this load pulls the cowcatcher ring out, these two wires come into tension, here and here. And as they're into tension, they then pull on the top of the mast and the base of the mast, or the first set of spreaders rather, which is also reinforced by the lowers and the intermediaries. So essentially what we're doing is, by slinging this cable across this cowcatcher, as it pulls this way, these come into tension, which then shifts this load onto the top and the bottom of the mast, or 2/3 of the way down, which then prevents it from bowing out in this way, which then achieves what we want to achieve. No longer need a running backstay. To be fair, I would still like running backstays, but I hope that helped a little more. It's just one of those things, you know, it's hard to explain until you see it in action or you see it working. Perhaps a model would have been better, but I hope that drawing helps. Next question.
Next question! Alright.
Got that.
Steve R, what's in your
question.
emergency repair kit?
Great question.
Oh, it depends what the emergency is, doesn't it?
Oh.
Well, emergency repair. One can assume that you are repairing your boat in an emergency. Okay, so the disasters that could possibly happen would be
we try
a
to
hull
do
breach,
Yep.
a
Busted rigging,
busted rigging.
lost mast,
Yeah.
busted rigging, a seacock
I don't
failure.
think we have anything in an emergency repair kit for a busted mast. We can't
Bolt
quite
cutters.
pull out a new mast.
Bolt cutters and the spinnaker pole.
True.
Blown out sail.
I think those are wrapped up the top 5, I'd
Lost
say.
rudder.
Lost rudder, true. Okay, so how
Propeller falling off. Shaft letting go. All right,
Wow.
so we're lost steering cable. So we're pretty well prepared for those things.
so we have one of those emergency tubes of epoxy, which I think you just kind of like
Underwater
melt,
epoxy.
Underwater epoxy, yeah. So you just kind of like mesh it up a little bit in your hands and kind of stick it on, and that is good for a hull breach.
Small hull breach.
A small hull breach. On top of that, we also have obviously our resin and fiberglass as well. Granted that does need like 12 hours to properly set.
Yeah.
So, okay, that will have to be like.
That would be more
after.
like a punched-in roof or
Yeah, I'd say so.
A waterline dent that we can get out of the water.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So we also have backup steering cables as well in case any of our cables break. And we have the.
We're on. Also, just a side note on that, we have been attending John Kreshmer's webinars recently, and we picked up a good tip that I'd like to share is the steering chain. Everyone's like, oh, you need new steering cable, but the chain that goes over the binnacle sprocket is equally as important. So we are on the hunt for one of those too. So that's going in the kit. It's not yet. We have Dyneema backup rigging for Dyneema. We have Spectra lashings for the where it fails on the mast. Spectra lashing around the mast, and then aluminium rings to spliced into a Dyneema, like 100 feet of Dyneema, that would then go down to the tow rail and back to a winch to make up an emergency stay should we lose one.
Yep. In terms of if we have a rip in our sail, we also have sticky Dacron sailcloth that you can paste over the rip. Prior to pasting it over, though, you would obviously sew up the rip first, and so we obviously have.
Do both. You stitch it, patch
and then you would
stitch
patch
it again.
Why would you patch
a series
of
patches?
Maybe.
Anyway, so we have that. Yep, sail tape. We have sail tape as well, but that's less preferable. You want like the big sheet of sticky stuff, not that sail tape. It's pretty flimsy stuff. We have a backup jib. It is moderately well sized, so it will fly and will provide thrust if we need it, but it's also, we keep it to sling under the boat if we have a massive breach. I'm not sure about the efficacy of that strategy, but hey, I've heard it's worked once upon a time.
In a real emergency, if you have a massive hull breach like that,
it might buy you a few hours.
Yeah, exactly.
What do we have? We have pumps, alternators, charge controllers, backup, hoses, lots of wiring, fuses, all that general maintenance stuff. I suppose that doesn't really count. I think we covered it.
I think we're pretty good, yeah.
Oh, we also, no, that's not repairs. I was going to say, we also have like handheld GPS, handheld radios, a second handheld GPS, 2 EPIRB, all that safety stuff. But again, not for repairs.
All right, last question. Okay. Why didn't you consider taking on some short-term crew? And that's from David Maslin.
Maslin, thank you.
There's obvious benefits.
In answer, yes.
Yeah,
consider
I think
it
so,
for sure. Previously, I was iffy because we kept having problems, and I didn't like it. We signed on for this, and it's our thing. But I'd be mortified if we brought on a crew member or a patron or a friend or a family, and we took them out, and something like happened. Like, I mean, we've survived everything that's happened so far, and I fully expect to survive everything that's going to happen in the future. And everybody involved is going to survive too, I hope.
But you don't want to put.
But I don't want to put anyone at risk until I'm confident that it's a reasonable level of comfort and safety. So I've been sort of telling myself, just get a few more runs on the board, shake it all out, get it all working, get some runs on the board, and then it's fine.
I think perhaps under sail, the V-berth is maybe not the best place for someone to sleep. I'm not sure. And so we have considered... Yeah, true. We have considered just amending some things in our saloon area, the lounge area, in order to accommodate someone else as well, like adding an extra bench instead of the 2 individual seats that we have. And so I think maybe some adaptations might mean that we can get a crew on in a more comfortable position rather than bashing around in the V-berths.
Definitely.
Okay, I think those are...
Yeah, that was good. Those were some very good questions.
They were really, really good questions, actually. Some very poignant questions, some really thoughtful ones, and some very, very...
complicated answers.
In-depth ones.
Shush. It's beautiful.
Got to turn this camera off. So guys, if you enjoyed that, then please give it a thumbs up, a like, and
keep the questions rolling. And if you have any queries, questions, doubtful points, please raise them below, and we will get to them in a subsequent Q&A. Yes. We will endeavour to find the sweet spot for length. We brought it up a little bit this time, and we just I think we just got lazy. Sense of urgency wasn't there. We had too much time, and then we blew out the budget. So maybe 17 minutes should be the new goal.
We need to know that we have to stop at one stage, and that's where we fail, because we're like, we're just going to go over.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.